The sounds of an emergency. Even with modern firefighting technology, most of the time the ability to protect your home often hinges on a functioning fire hydrant.
1898 is the date.
The Richmond Department of Public Utilities operates an extensive water distribution system with over 6,700 fire hydrants. Keeping these hydrants ready for a fire-related emergency is essential to public safety in our community. This is why DPU conducts a hydrant inspection program to systematically locate, repair, and replace broken hydrants on a regular basis. The inspection program is an ongoing responsibility of the DPU Water Distribution Group. To guarantee consistent service quality, it is important for DPU to train its field personnel and contractors to perform all inspections in accordance with our standard operating procedures. This short video will guide you through step-by-step instructions.
The tools that are needed for hydrant inspection are pressure gauge. You need a hydrant spanner wrench, 2-pound hammer, screwdrivers to get into the valve, paint to paint the hydrant, a dechlorinator. The purpose for the dechlorinator is to help with the environment. It has tablets inside of it that help to take the chlorine out the water as it's going into the drain. What you will also need is a valve key, standardized valve key, 6 foot most of the time, and measuring tape.
Before you get to work, make sure you're safe. Wear the appropriate safety gear, a hard hat, bright reflective safety vest. Position your work vehicle near your work area and establish a perimeter with traffic safety cones.
When we start our fire and hydrant inspections, what we will typically do is look at the make and the model of the hydrant. This hydrant, as you see, is called a Corey hydrant. What we then do is establish if the hydrant is a breakaway hydrant or not. The way that you tell by that is breakaway hydrants have a flange that sits above ground that when they get hit, the hydrant breaks over. Non-breakaway hydrants, as what we have here, it's just one long shaft that connects underground. And this is the flange in which I'm speaking of. This collet right here, this type of hydrant, it's a breakaway hydrant. What happens is if this hydrant is hit, this collar breaks, and there's a knuckle in the inside of this that holds the top part of this stem to the barrel of the stem, and all it does is just snaps off. It's a safety feature to keep the mains from being broken when fire hydrants are hit. Also, what we want to do after we measure the flange height is measure the height of the pumper nozzle from the curb. As you can see, this is sitting around 16.5 inches, which is fine. Typically we like it somewhere between 18 to 20 inches, but 16 inches is okay. We try to get rid of these if they need any maintenance done, just because of the safety issue of them being a non-breakaway and the potential hazard of, if they get hit, of causing damage to the main. After we establish what type of hydrant it is, what we want to do is make sure that the hydrant is facing the front ways towards the street. It makes it easily accessible for the fire department in case they have to hook up to it and use it. The next thing we want to do is check the flange height of the hydrant from the curb to see how high it is. If it's a breakaway hydrant and it has a flange on it, that flange should be somewhere between 3 to 6 inches above the curb line, and the pumper nozzle should be between 18 to 20 inches above the curb line. As we can see with this hydrant here, the pumper nozzle is only 8 inches above the curb line. So it's relatively short for if the fire department had to use it and hook up to it. So this is one that we would mark on our paper that needed to be replaced because we can't add an extension to it. Also with breakaway hydrants, we can add extensions to them if they are short, below the grade. Non-breakaway hydrants we can't. And that flange, you can add extensions from 6 inches to like 36 inches. I will check the depth of the fire hydrant valve by opening the valve box. All valves have an operating nut on it. That's for you to turn the valve on, off. We're just checking to see from the top of the operating nut to the top of the valve box how high it is. Measuring the depth of the nut. That lets you know how deep the hydrant is. That's roughly 36 inches. We'll hook the dechlorinator to the fire hydrant. We'll take off the 2-inch cap. We have a hose hooked to it, and that's just to help with the vibration, because you can hook this straight to the hydrant. We had it modified for that, but it caused a lot of vibration and it was breaking this piece because of the vibration. So we have this hose hooked to it to help lessen that. Inside of here, is the tablets in which I was speaking of earlier. If you look, there are tablets inside of that. What that does is the water passes through it. They go against the tablets, and that helps to take away some of the chlorine as it goes into the sewer system, being environmentally conscious. Also, anytime we run a hydrant, we put hydrant signs on it to let people know that the hydrant is being flushed, so nobody just calls in and says they just see running water. Now next, he'll turn the hydrant on, and what we'll do is exercise the hydrant valve to make sure that it works properly. In the Richmond system, majority of the hydrant leads are 6 inches. There are a few that are on 4-inch leads, but the vast majority of them are on 6 inches. So what we'll be doing now is, as he turns it on, we will work the valve down with the valve key, and we will count the turns to see what size valve it is. That will let us know what size lead it is. Typically, the way that the turns work, a 6-inch valve will have 18 turns with give or take a turn or two. That ratio is like for every 3 turns is 1 inch. That's pretty much how we figure out what size valves they are. 4-inch valves are going to give you 15 turns. That should be good. Now, as I work this valve down and count the turns, you may see some discoloration coming out of the end of the hose, and that's just from the valve being worked. It's pulling all the sediment that is set in the gates. The valves in the Richmond system are left hand to close, right hand to open. So to close the valve, we'll be turning left, not the traditional righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. With the valve key, every 2 turns is 1 full rotation. So that what you just saw me do, that was 1 turn. That's 2, 3, 4, As you can see here, there is some moisture seeping through. It's leaking down from the top of this. So this will be documented, and a repair order will be put in to put the O-ring back in the top of that. To make sure no leaks come from the nozzles itself. All the nozzles have a piece of rubber in the inside that stops them, that stops the water from leaking. So what we're checking for when he turns this on is to make sure that the nozzles do not leak, and that right here doesn't leak. There's an O-ring there, and up under the hydrant head, the bonnet, that doesn't leak. When we say water is leaking from the bonnet, all washers have a rubber piece right at the top of the head of it. That rubber piece could be torn or anything, which would allow water to seep out. And when you see water coming from here, that's why. We're at 21 turns now. And the hydrant is completely off, so now we know that the valve works. We'll turn the hydrant back on, flush it for a minute just to clear the line out, and from there we'll take the static pressure. Now, in turning the hydrant off, it gives us a verification that the washer in the bottom of the hydrant is holding. All hydrants at the bottom of it, at the boot of it, there's a rubber washer that is used to stop the water from continuing up the barrel and out of the hydrant. Next we will do is check for the static pressure of the hydrant. The static pressure is the line pressure of the hydrant. What he's hooking up to the hydrant now is a gauge, just a standardized pressure gauge. This particular hydrant is around 52 to 55 pounds. Once that's done, he'll turn the hydrant off. So he will take the gauge off, and then what we'll do is just look inside of the nozzle and make sure that the water is draining down out of the weep hose. At the bottom of the hydrant, at the boot of it, which what we can't see is underground, they drilled in holes for the barrel to expound the water out as the hydrant's cut off, so you don't have stagnant water just sitting inside of the barrel. After that's done, what we will do, paint the fire hydrant so it'll be known that it's been inspected. Now, on a color basis, what we use here in the Richmond system, any hydrant that's on the main that is 8 inches or smaller is an all silver hydrant. Any hydrant that's on the main that's 10 inches or bigger, it's a silver hydrant, but the caps on the hydrant, the two 2-inch caps and the 2.5-inch caps and the 4-inch pumper nozzle are painted yellow. After that, we clean up the work area. That concludes our fire hydrant inspection.
If you have any questions, please discuss with the field crew supervisor. Thank you for doing your part to ensure the safety and reliability of Richmond's water supply system.